Today we are with Espen Oeino. We would like to know how you begin to project. Why do you begin to project yachts? Which is your thought about the sea, your love for the sea, if you have?
Yes, of course I have a love for the sea. Thank you for taking the time to ask me these questions. Yes, it's not something I normally reflect upon, but of course I have a love for the sea. I pretty much grew up on the water, and in the winter where I grew up, we have a lot of snow. Snow is also water, it's crystallized water.
It's a kind of water.
It is. I studied naval architecture and offshore engineering to become a naval architect, which is a little bit misleading as a term because it says architecture or architects. You think it's architectural studies. It's not really, it's a pure engineering discipline. All theoretical studies of performance, hydrodynamics, stability, subdivision, and so on and so on. I have quite a technical background, although I was always very creative and I loved drawing. But my parents suggested that I do something more technical so that in case I failed as a boat designer, I then became a yacht designer because where I grew up there were not many yachts. So my world was kind of small boats, production boats and ships. But I was always fascinated by anything floating. And in particular, the Italian design and Italian built hydrofoils from Rodrigo Z with a Z from Messina. And so I guess it was natural. Norway has a very long coastline because of its topography. If you go in and out of all the bays and fjords, according to Wikipedia, I haven't checked this myself, it's 28,000 kilometers. So for many people, boat is not just a matter of leisure boating, it's also a means of transportation for going to school, for going to work. It's an integral part of our infrastructure system. We have, I think, more than 250 ferry links in Norway. All these things caught my interest. As a kid, I was rowing ships, I was rowing ferries, I was rowing boats, not yachts, because I didn't really know of them. But it's true to say that I love that as a kid, I still love it today. I kind of got into yachting a bit accidentally, came down here, and I discovered the world of yachting, which is obviously much more important in the Mediterranean Sea than it's in Scandinavia. So I studied in Scotland at the University of Strathclyde. It was all about ship design and semi-submersibles, so oil rigs. A lot of emphasis on floating structures in relation to the offshore oil and gas activities in the North Seas. But at university you learn a little about everything and a lot about nothing. So you end up thinking when you finish university, you think you know a lot about everything, but in fact you realize when you start working that you don't know much. I was very much into sailing, and I got a job in a company down here with Martin Francis who designed sailing boats, and that's really what I wanted to do. It was in Antibes, and somehow he got an inquiry for a motor yacht, which was totally unexpected because he didn't do motor yachts. He didn't know how to do them either, technically speaking, because he was self-taught. So I'd literally just started there a year before, but I had a theoretical background to figure out resistance, performance, and so on. So I got very much involved in that motor yacht project, which ended up being built, and today she's owned by my neighbor here in Monaco, and she's sitting over there. So it's quite funny. That boat was the one that was called Echo. Now she's called Zeus. A very ambitious project back in the late 80s. 74 meters, 34 knots. Glass fiber superstructure, high tensile steel hull, the world's biggest water jet at the time. It was super ambitious.
So you study ships and how to project ships, but what is the difference in projecting yachts?
Most people, when you say ship, you tend to think about commercial ships that perform a work. They perform work, they take cargo from A to B, or passengers. They have a very specific mission. Whereas a yacht is a home, is a floating home. They move much less than ships do. You probably spend much more time doing the layout of the vessel, making sure that you come up with a nice layout, to create a nice home, and a nice working place for the crew, who can move around the boat without being seen and do their stuff without being seen, and so on and so on, whilst packaging it all into a meaningful and technically sound technical platform with an engine room that doesn't make too much noise, working spaces for the crew that makes it possible for them to do their work in the best possible way. And then depending on the requirements, specific requirements, this may mean that it's a more enclosed volume if it goes to the Middle East, or more open boats if it goes to the Med, or again more enclosed if it goes far up north or far to the south, to Antarctica. And that makes it very interesting, because most of the boats we do are, custom designed, custom built, so it's specific to a given client. Although we do more and more of kind of semi-production boats and production boats, but I have some ship owner clients, and I have one who is not the client, because he tells me, Espen, the last thing I need is another ship that doesn't make me money. Yachts don't make money, they only cost money.
Which is your favorite project?
Usual and difficult question. The favorite project is like asking you who's your favorite child. It's like you can't answer that. So the politically correct answer is either the last one or the next one.
Or the next one,
which I think
yes.
was Ferrari who said that.
But some of these yachts have done you, I don't know, something to study, something more. You have done a few years ago a particular one.
The ski boat. There are so many places on this planet where you can have easy access to the mountains from the coastline, and this yacht is set up for doing this. It's called Cloudbreak. It's a 75-meter yacht which you can charter if you want to ski.
Yeah, this one, or the ocean one, you have done.
The RevOcean, the RevOcean is a very particular project, a very noble project, because it's about science, and this will be the world's largest and probably most versatile and complete research vessel. I have two of the guys in my office. They're up at the yard this week. It's the brainchild of a Norwegian industrialist who made most, if not all, of his money through the oceans. And this week we have the Ocean Week here in Monaco, and there are a lot of people from this world who are visiting. Yes, and this is indeed a very, very fascinating project. Very ambitious, very big. It'll be 194 meters long, so it'll be, and kitted out to go, around the world, not like this, but like this, or south. So, yeah, very different. But I love different projects, and I love projects that are meaningful in this sense. And for us, it's been a very challenging but also rewarding project, and it's not finished yet. It'll take another couple of years before we're done. But when she comes out, hopefully she will come in here in the port of Monaco, and we will have her right here in front of our office. That will be a grand moment, because we started the first studies back in 2016-17, so it's a long time.
You project like masterpiece. Every time you do something new, something different.
So this is a slight exaggeration, but I do like to do different things and different boats, and every project is a project in its own right. And when we've been very lucky in as much as we've been given many chances to do something different, and lately we started off by doing more and more tenders for the big boats, like small planing craft that go inside the big yachts, and that kind of led us to a relationship with a Norwegian boat manufacturer called Windy, with whom we did many tenders. And when their own in-house naval architect retired, they asked us if we'd be interested in doing their production boats. And for me, this was like a dream, because when I was a kid, that was my dream, to design Windy boats, because they were at the time, and still are today, at the top of the game of, probably the most expensive Norwegian powerboat manufacturers, but high quality, very, very seaworthy boats, and very well designed boats and well built boats. So for me, when we did the first production boat with them about 3-4 years ago, think it was, I remember in the introduction talk, I said, listen, this is what I wanted to do all my life. It's taken me, at that time, we just delivered our big yacht number 50. And I'd been in business for 25 years, and I said, listen, it's taken me 50 yachts and 25 years to get to do what I really wanted to do, which of course was a bit of a joke, but there was some truth in it, because that's what I grew up dreaming about, and that's what we were driving around. Actually, not me, we had smaller boats with outboard engines, but our parents had big boats like that with inboard engines.
It's a completely different world.
We were, yeah, of course, but this was my world, which I grew up in, so this was what I aspired to as a kid. And of course, when we finally got to do the production of boats for Windy, it's been a real revelation, because it's very different from doing custom yachts. First of all, we're responsible for the naval architecture, the technical aspects of it, the hull design, the performance predictions, the stability. And it's very interesting to do that on planing hulls, because small geometric differences can cause quite big differences in behavior at high speed, whereas on a displacement type hull form on large yachts, it's much more forgiving, shall we say. And normally the shipyards look after the naval architecture aspects when on the big yachts, on the custom projects. But on these boats, we do it all ourselves, in-house, and it's very interesting. And also it's a completely different economic model, because you invest in your own time and the study in the hope that this will be a successful boat, and you collect royalties on each hull sold. So it's recurring revenue over the lifespan of the model.
The project of a submarine, I know that you was involved also in this kind of things.
To a certain extent, yes. We were in contact. Actually, we met Triton through the RevOcean project, which we talked about earlier. And there was a relationship that developed, and somehow they convinced me to go on a demonstration on one of their subs. As a matter of fact, today, because of the Ocean Week, the very same vessel with the same sub just came in the port a couple of hours ago, just sitting over there. And I was initially a bit skeptical, because I tend to be a little bit claustrophobic, and I was kind of thinking, me going down in the sub in a volume like this, not being in charge, in control. But it was a revelation, because this polycarbonate bubble completely disappears when you're diving. When you're ashore or on deck with the boat, you see it. You see through it, and you know it's there. Once you go into full immersion, it disappears. And it was an amazing revelation for me. We didn't go very deep. We went to 50 meters or something, just here off the rock in front of the Oceanographic Museum. As a result of this, we started working with them, not on the technical, so much on the technical aspects, because that's a very specific expertise which they have and we don't have. But we've developed some models with them. One of them was taking one of their existing shells and turning it around 90 degrees and making for it a faster sub, because it would then produce less drag. It's been a very interesting collaboration. We're hoping that the first one will sell soon, and that they can build it, and that it will be able to go down. And it's the one that was done for Rev is already in operation now. It's lent out to another ship whilst we're waiting for RevOcean to be ready, but we didn't really, technically speaking, design that one. We just met them through that. But yeah, we have a few other projects that are part of our little diversification program, like with Paola Lenti in Italy, with a line of a collection of furniture, 3 different lines that are. It's been very interesting as well. You know, when you design a custom yacht, you design most things, including sofas and seats and detailing. And we've done it many times over on all these projects. And sometimes you have a combination of fixed furniture and loose furniture, and often we also design the loose furniture. So that all came about as a result of introducing Paola Lenti to the yachts as loose furniture. And then we came up with this idea that on a yacht, as opposed to a house, you never really know where the sun will go up and where it'll go down. Of course, you know, it comes up in the east and goes down in the west when you're in the northern hemisphere. The idea came out that this circular daybed, so that with a backrest on a rail, so you can adjust it to whatever the sun comes up or whatever you want to look at. And from there on, we did a collection of lightweight chairs for you bringing to the beach if you set up a beach party, or having on deck, and also some outside chairs. What we see more and more in the large yacht design is that people realize that they spend most of the time awake on board the yachts outside. So there's a tendency for the outside living spaces to become a little bit more influenced by inside, with more and more comfortable chairs and fabrics and furniture. So we designed a nice outside chair, which really looks like an inside chair. But in the end of the day, it's all about analyzing things and being observant and thinking things through. And when you do that, it's not so much about design anymore. It's more about, if you do a proper analysis of what you're trying to do, then very often you can come up with a good design. People call it design, but it's not so much design. It's just about providing an answer to a question that's being posed, and the trick is to ask the right question.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
That's it.